Welcome to Difficulty Concentrating, and I'm Nathan Steinman. As in our podcast, The Dubious Consumers, this series will explore movies, music, comic books, literature, art, poetry, and the avant-garde. As a former card-carrying Discordian pope, these are my first attempts to connect the dots after growing up in a flyover state as the millennium approached. Oklahoma is mostly rooted in a nostalgia for a 1950s America that never existed. This state didn't even repeal prohibition until 1959, and my mother's high school wasn't desegregated until 1972 when she graduated. I've spent most of my life here, and that has had an effect when you are both fascinated by the strange, experimental, and vulgar. I've been searching for a point where both high art and low art meet not just in pop culture, but in all culture and media's interacting as a whole. I know I don't have all the answers. I just have a perspective of a dude who likes to read and write out in the desolate red plains in the center rhinestone and the buckle of the Bible Belt. This first episode, we will be exploring Total Recall. Total Recall is the type of film growing up that other boys on the playground or during lunch wanted to talk about. Whether it was the lady with 3 breasts or the lady whose head comes apart to reveal that it was Arnold in disguise. It was a movie that you could see on a Saturday evening on a local channel heavily edited so that you couldn't see the truly twisted violence and sexual themes of the film. But the boy whose parents rented it, or had cable, saw it in all its unexpurgated glory. Of course, they had to tell you about it. I didn't see this movie probably till I was 16 or 17, when the video store clerk stopped checking my ID because now I was driving a car now with family. I know I enjoyed it, but having only really seen the thing once, you don't really have an association with it, other than it just sits there in the back of your mind. Maybe I was reading Valis for the first time this year, but I've been thinking more and more about Philip K. Dick adaptations. Combine that with watching a YouTube video by someone I can't remember, that Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't a good everyman, and the more I thought about Total Recall, the more I discovered that he isn't a great everyman, but he is a great audience surrogate. Total Recall isn't just a power fantasy, it's the satirical edge of a power fantasy. So often movies are claimed to be only for escapism, when they're a popcorn blockbuster even more so. What if a movie itself played on the type of escapism we seek in movies? The everyman played instead of by an actor who looks like us, instead is played by a roided out action star who doesn't even look remotely normal. Arnold is not the everyman, but he is the ultimate projection of male power. But instead of him already being an action hero or a cop or a secret agent, he's just a construction worker. Nothing special. Humdrum. He's the male gaze turned inward. He's the everyman as Hulk Hogan. He is who the schlubbiest of regular men pretend themselves to be in their fantasies, and even though he too works a normal job, even in the future. Like us, he has to go somewhere else to find satisfaction. Not even dreams help. They fuel his desire to escape. Visions of Mars and another woman haunt him while he is on Earth with his trophy wife. He goes to Recall to escape his normal life. This is where we lose grip on what is real and what is not. What if you found out you actually were a secret agent and had to go on an adventure, killing bad guys and traveling to another world? What if all those dreams you had about another woman are true? What if you knew a secret that could change everything, but you didn't know it because you already had false memories implanted inside your head? The idea of our memories not being reliable, or taking away our ability to trust our memories because they are implanted as a fascinating movie theme. In the spy genre, typically this is usually played by an amnesiac. Once they were a great and powerful agent until one day their memory was taken away. Here, the two ideas are twisted together. He doesn't remember any version of his past, and later in the film, we discover that Quaid may not be who even the rebels think he is. I find films that question the nature of reality and deal in dream logic absolutely fascinating. Whether it's in the films of David Lynch, Louis Buñuel, or later movies Dark City or The Matrix, the desire for humanity to know what is real when even our dreams can seem vivid and as complex as our daily lives. A common way of exploring this is through the idea of the world being a simulation. But in Total Recall, the idea is that you take a vacation by willfully having false memories implanted. How would you feel if you knew that you could have the adventure of a lifetime and not just experience it as a game, but as a visceral experience? Could you return to work and the mundanity of life, or would you keep going back to have that adrenaline shot or that sensation of the unexpected or the impossible taking place? We already do that. Instead of having them planted via a machine and being knocked unconscious, we buy our ticket and we sit in a dark room and let the dream take place before us. And we can talk about these memories of events that did not happen with each other, because we can share that experience with others. These fictions we talk about as if they were real things, and we can talk and discuss about the goings on in these worlds. With Total Recall, they add the extra twist that you don't know what is or isn't fantasy the whole time. Where in a film like The Matrix, they keep what is fantasy and what is reality within the film very clear, except for the woman in the red dress sequence. In Total Recall, they keep defying our expectations, even with the happy ending where the main character survived that nightmarish decompression before the atmosphere is transformed. Is the man who says he's a technician at Recall actually one? Is a bead of sweat the only evidence needed to convince Quaid that the technician is a liar and he deserves a bullet in the head? Is Quaid actually a double agent who had memories implanted? Or is Hauser just another false memory in other people's heads? Here's the thing. This movie wasn't going to happen this way. It's an accident that it did. According to an article by Frank Rose from Wired magazine in 2003, originally a much more faithful adaptation with David Cronenberg attached to direct and Richard Dreyfuss starring, was the direction they were going. David Cronenberg ended up leaving. Ronald Shusett, one of the co-screenwriters, even told Cronenberg they weren't trying to make a faithful adaptation. They were trying to make Raiders of the Lost Ark on Mars. So after Cronenberg leaves, which he explores some of the themes in this story in both his adaptation of Naked Lunch and in Existence. So from that, the project passes from director to director, and the project ends up in the hands of the director of Driving Miss Daisy, Bruce Beresford, and Patrick Swayze was attached to star. Now, that incongruent pair didn't get to make their film because the De Laurentiis Entertainment Group went bankrupt after several films such as a King Kong sequel called King Kong Lives, Million Dollar Mystery, the Catherine Bigelow's Near Dark, and others weren't successful enough. So Schwarzenegger, who'd previously tried to star in the movie, gets Coralco, the company who was mostly behind the Rambo films, to purchase the rights, and eventually Paul Verhoeven is selected to direct. So this film shouldn't have happened this way. And it's the most expensive movie made for the time. And it was successful for the company, and it even wins an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. So, with the idea of Arnold being a perfect surrogate, so I was doing some research, and I looked up Roger Ebert's original review of the film. And in the review, which he gave this movie 3.5 stars, is on Arnold, he says, he isn't Superman this time, although he fights like one. He's a confused and frightened innocent, a man betrayed by the structure of reality itself, and in his vulnerability, he opens up the way for Total Recall to be more than simply an action, violence, and special effects extravaganza. He continues later in the article. Verhoeven is skilled at creating sympathy for characters even within the overwhelming hardware of a story like this. That's where Schwarzenegger is such a help. He could have stalked and glowered through this movie and become a figure of fun, but instead, by allowing himself to seem confused and vulnerable, he provides a sympathetic center for all of the high-tech spectacle. Maybe I'm onto something with this audience surrogate. All the cheesy one-liners, all the effects that are starting to look kind of out of date, doesn't matter. What matters is that you cannot know what's real and still talk about it if it is real.
Thanks for watching the very first episode of Difficulty Concentrating. This is also my first attempt at using video editing software, I mean it. Give me a clarinet, guitar, pen, or pencil, I know what's going on, but the world of video is a brand new place for me. If you liked what I had to say, feel free to hit the like button or leave a comment below. If you want to see more videos from either me or Justin, hit the subscribe button. A way you can help the channel grow and influence future content is head over to the Patreon and donate. Also, don't forget to go out and set fire to the hive. Good night.